Hey there, folks. We are live, just stumbling our technology together. I just got to check if I'm on call in here, folks. So give us a minute and we will sort this technology out here because we always want to make life as complicated as possible. So we're doing live on various social media platforms and, of course, on call in, our favorite place to be on Tuesday morning or afternoon. Are we live on call in, folks? Kyle, are we live on call in?
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
Okay, fantastic. So while the guys work on the tech, if you're joining us live or even watching on the replay, we are going to talk about a really interesting opportunity that I think we have some practical experience of amongst us here, which is external keyword traffic going to marketplaces. So generally, the world traditionally divides up into direct-to-consumer sites where you have to sweat for traffic, whether that's Google SEO, Google Ads, some other form of advertising, Pinterest, you name it, or marketplaces like eBay or, of course, Amazon, where you rely on the marketplace itself to bring the traffic. Now, what is interesting is that there's a sort of cross-pollination between the two worlds, which is not often explored, I think. But I've certainly seen it amongst my clients, and I know you guys have as well. So interesting stuff. So it's going to be worth the wait. It may be a few seconds wait just before we get ourselves set up on call in here. Should I attempt perhaps to start the call in show on the topic, or
it's on?
It's on. Okay, amazing. So just need to find that and then we will be with you intelligently. Here we go. So using Google to create an unfair advantage on Amazon is the way we are putting it formally. Doesn't just apply to Amazon, of course, but or Google, but that is the main thrust of today, I guess. So I can hear you guys on call in. So Jason, you're good to go.
There.
Kyle, you there? Amazing. We are live and calling. Right then. So let's start this show off formally so that we get a bit of a clean start. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the call-in show, the hot takes with our expert panel. Chris Green's got to go and do stuff today, but live with Jason Miles from California with exciting internet, and Kyle Hamer over also on the west coast of the States. I'm over here in London, England. Today we are talking about external keyword traffic to marketplaces, Google SEO to Amazon. That's my boring kind of Germanic version. Jason's version is much sexier, which is using Google to create an unfair advantage on Amazon, which is what we all want. We all want an unfair advantage. So that's the topic today. Kyle and Jason, welcome to the show. Let's get cracking with this one.
Let's get rolling.
Kyle, you have worked with some clients on this
Yeah,
stuff.
thanks, man. Happy to be here.
Good to have you here as well. So the vagaries of international web traffic permitting, as long as we can keep broadcasting here. Kyle, tell us a bit about what you've seen of yourself or your clients doing this stuff. How does it work?
Well, I mean, I think Amazon's always sort of favored high quality traffic to their site and getting more of it, right? Like what website doesn't want to have high quality traffic being sent to it? And so Amazon's algorithm essentially rewards that behavior. And so as long as you're using what would be termed as like a clean URL, right? You're not using anything that's been tainted by previous bad action, right? Because Amazon does track that. So essentially, when you're sending traffic from a Google, from a YouTube, from a Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any of those social platforms, high quality blog traffic as well would qualify. And that's linking from that source to your storefront, to your product pages on Amazon. As that traffic comes in, you will sort of see a lift in relevancy, right? And that can translate into higher organic position in search, which then translates to hopefully sales for you as long as you're converting. So then the idea behind it is, well, how do you build processes and systems to get that high quality traffic to your Amazon listings and to like your storefront page and all those fun things. So the big picture is you get rewarded for taking good behavior and good actions, which is sending good high quality traffic. And there's definitely some ways to do that for sure. I'm happy we can talk about a number of them today for sure.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a nice explanation of how it works. And yes, the proviso being it's got to be an untainted URL. Very important, because Amazon
True.
is pretty judgmental, and rightly so, because there are a lot of bad actors on any platform. Google's been fighting off various forms of attempted fraud for 2 decades. Amazon's been doing it for similar length of time, especially when they had the third-party marketplace. So I would say a couple of things. I mean, first of all, what I've seen with clients is that it can work. It's a real thing. It's not just a theory. The thing I've seen that's very interesting for me is that I've had a couple of clients who've done it, but they've employed an external agency, and the external agency is run by one of the other members of the mastermind, and they've blown up the agency in the last year from about 6 employees a year ago to 20 now. So they're really gunning for this. So they have a lot of belief in this, as we've got a sort of in-house expert in this, in fact. And I haven't had a chance to pick his brain because he's been so busy, like yourself, generating children and generating an agency at the same time, that he's not had the time to come to the mastermind recently. But certainly lots of insights come from him. So I would say using an external agency that you trust and understands both sides of the equation is really helpful, and both sides being the Google SEO side and the Amazon SEO, and how it actually translates to sales on Amazon. So my experience is that in general, it's a really good thing. So that's my hot take. I've got some further thoughts on the back of conversations I've had with that guy who's called Ashley Pierce of Future State Media. I should name him because he's doing great stuff for our guys. So that's my take on it. And Jason, internet permitting, do you have any thoughts on this or insights for your work with clients or your own work?
I don't know if the internet is permitting.
Looks like the internet is not permitting at the moment. We'll bring in Jason as and when that permits. Jason's living the dream, moving to California, but of course part of that is dealing with horrible internet, which is pretty much true for any digital nomading anywhere, including, it seems, in the United States. So responses or second takes on that, Kyle, because obviously there's a bit more nuance than we've just outlined, I guess.
Yeah, I would say that there's a couple of ways to go about this too. One is you can focus on organic high quality traffic, right? Like one underused resource is sort of the Google listing, like the Google My Business listing. There's no reason why you can't create a listing for your brand on Google. If you have a physical address, right, you will have some level of physical address. You have to have one if you're going to sell on Amazon. And you can then link that Google listing to your products and to your Amazon stores, your website, right? And that's something that Google values and will rank highly for it. So that's an example of organic Google traffic. Now, are you going to get a ton of it? Probably not, but it's a cumulative thing. You start to build and stack things into that. But I guess the other way that I've seen this really work effectively as of late is just actually paid traffic. So using Google search ads to drive very targeted keyword traffic to your product pages and to your storefront. And the beauty of it is that you don't have to actually only generate a sale. Like oftentimes when you run traffic or something, you're always focused on, well, what's the ACoS, like what's the ROI? And that's true. But there's a halo effect that occurs when this is done properly, to where your organic traffic will actually expand. And I actually just did a case study on this in May, and I saw a 17% lift in organic traffic and actually organic sales on Amazon across 4 ASINs by using this exact same strategy, right? So, and that's all we did for that month. And we didn't do anything new. It was just like, here, let's test this. And we didn't spend a ton of money to do it, but it had an exponential lift. So those types of strategies absolutely should be tested.
Yeah, I was going to say just on that, what I think is beautiful about this strategy is it leverages the nature of the different platforms. So Google, if you rank on Google through paid ads, you're not supposed to rank on the organic results. And whether that's true or not is hotly debated. But on Amazon, there's no such division at the moment. I'd give it a couple of years, right, and the antitrust legislation in America may kick in. But at the moment, that's not the case, meaning that you can basically use clicks, or let alone sales, even if no sales, a good click-through rate, and its Amazon's love of external traffic to boost rankings, which, as you say, will give you the visibility to then get future sales. And that's, after all, what we do when we pay a lot of money on Amazon ads, or by reducing the cost of the products in a launch, cost a lot of money as well. So we're all as Amazon sellers normally, in my experience anyway, very private label or custom product sellers anyway, when we launch, we spend a lot of money to get ranking. So this is just an alternative approach. So that strikes me as very logical. So Jason, what are your thoughts on this? You're not such a sort of Amazon focused guy, but obviously you're an expert on Google traffic over the years. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, there's a hack that I really, really appreciate that our clients frequently take advantage of or have taken advantage of in some occasions. And that is getting earned media basically through large internet content providers. So the one I'm thinking of specifically is the Dotdash company. They have a collection of internet websites that massively send traffic. We literally just got an email this morning from a coaching client who shared a link, and his product on Amazon is featured in a listicle as like the best overall game or whatever, with the link going to his Amazon item. Now that will send, because that's happened to our company as well. Pixie Fair and other clients have received the same treatment from the Dotdash Corporation. It sends a massive amount of traffic. I mean, it is a kingmaker, if you will. And so to the extent that you can organize earned media, and I would just say to any seller of a like private label product on Amazon, go look to see what Dotdash articles exist in your niche or category. They create listicles, and they publish the author name with a link. You can email them. So you could simply say, "Hey, Emily, hey, Christine, I love your article. I'm also in that space and actually have more reviews than anyone else. Or next time you update this article, please check out this product as well because whatever, make your case for it." You never know. I mean, you certainly could just approach the person who's making that listicle and they could feature you, and you will have traffic like a landslide to your product. And that will trigger all sorts of benefits, not just the traffic itself, click through from the article, but to Kyle's point, all the other algorithmic benefits and boosts of such behavior, because it's a super high quality, authority
Yeah,
part of
that's the
website
extremely
sending
cool
traffic.
thing. I remember you talking about that before on the deep dive podcast that we've done about Dotdash, and yeah, to combine that. However, I think we talked about that more for D2C sites. So to combine that with the Amazon, ability to convert traffic into sales, and that sounds quite extraordinary. What's nice about that is it has, I mean, my experience of influencer marketing, and that's not exactly the same thing, but it's something of the flavor of it, is that you have to work very, very hard. And again, Ashley Pearson, my guy, works incredibly hard. He's got a background as a mechanical engineer, and I can relate to that. My grandfather and my uncle are engineers, and he says that engineering is a condition, not a profession, is the joke they have apparently. So he is given to creating complex things, and then he's the kind of crash test dummy for the rest of the group. And he has done in the past a lot of about 12 influencers at the same time driving traffic to a listing. And what can happen is you get a great boost, which if you get the timing right, which is hard to engineer, it's great for launch. But for an ongoing solution to the how do I get traffic, how do I get sales, how do I get ranking questions, it strikes me that having a link to a blog is a much more satisfactory answer to that. I mean, Kyles, what's your take on that? How does this compare with other external traffic sources going to Amazon, or for that matter, other marketplaces?
Well, what I love about having something like a Dotdash or the Spruce, and they're the whole family of websites that they have with it, is that if they lock you in, they do a really good job of SEO. Like they rank really high for their searches organically. And so people click in, they go to those pages, and then they click over using affiliate links, typically to Amazon. Now, what's really fascinating to me on this whole concept is Amazon essentially measures. So we talked about not all URLs being created equal, right? There are clean URLs that are seen as good actors, and there are bad URLs that are seen as bad actors. And if you've tried to send traffic from a ManyChat or anything like that from Messenger in the past couple of years, you've kind of seen that hack, disappear essentially, because that traffic was sort of seen as dirty or not at a clean URL anymore. But what's great is that Amazon measures the benefit of that traffic um, to the benefit of Amazon's company as a whole previously. So it's kind of rated, right? So for example, Google has sent a lot of buyers to Amazon over the last 20 years. So it has a high weighted value for its traffic. The Spruce sends a lot of buying traffic to Amazon. A lot of customers come over. So therefore it gets a higher rated or higher weighted valuation in terms of how to rate that traffic. So the biggest takeaway from this is that the right external traffic can really move the needle for you. And honestly as well, it traffic from like the Facebooks, the Googles, the YouTubes, the TikToks actually is going to be higher weighted or better traffic than even sponsored ads, because Amazon's going to reward that traffic at a higher level than even their own internal traffic, because it's coming from an outside trusted source that's proven to provide new customers in the past to the platform.
Nice. Great. Jason, you're welcome to chop in at any point if you feel that your internet is going to behave itself. Just going to say on that, very interesting what you were just saying, Kyle. So I guess there's a kind of two things that we traditionally associate with Google that obviously are going on at Amazon, but we mostly haven't had to think about it, which is kind of domain authority. And obviously Google has incredible domain authority for anybody else on the internet. And so there's things like the Spruce or Dotdash or any of these other huge companies. But it's a kind of cascading goodwill, isn't it? I mean, normally most internet marketing funnels are sort of cascade of terrible conversion percentages, meaning that you get sort of 0.1% of 10,000 things at the front. But if you have Google, the most trusted thing on the internet for finding information for anybody, sending traffic to something like Dotdash, which is very, very trusted by Amazon, and then Amazon is trusted by the consumers and then get incredible conversion rates. That feels to me like a sort of a very unusual thing in internet marketing, which is a funnel where it's, instead of narrowing precipitously, it's sort of quite wide open. So you could end up with, I guess that's the effect that Jason was talking about, right? The crazy amounts of traffic that can result. I mean, have you seen, I mean, how does this, it sounds like my sort of painting castles in the air, as it were. Is that something you've seen or gotten the evidence for this way of thinking?
Yeah, for sure. So what essentially can start to occur with that, right, is you can use Amazon attribution, which is, they've had it in beta for years, but essentially they've rolled it out to everybody who is brand registered now. But attribution is essentially Amazon's ability to track external traffic and report that to you as a seller. Like, they obviously can track all of their own metrics internally, but they haven't really surfaced that except in the last couple of years through Amazon's attribution program. So what you're doing is you're actually using specific tracking URLs for your external traffic. So if you're running Google ads or Facebook ads or influencers on TikTok or whatever you're going to do, you're going to have a unique campaign URL that's going to be assigned to it that they're going to use, and that's going to then literally track that traffic coming in, and you can see have the impact on your sales, and you can begin to sort of track it through that platform, which is essentially one of the missing pieces for sending external traffic to Amazon in the past, right? It's kind of been a black box. If you had tried it, you could kind of test it, and you would sort of see things anecdotally start to work or not work, or what was this converting or not converting. But now literally you can, down to, for example, if you're going to run a Google ad with a search term, you can actually get search term level granularity like you would in sponsored ads, and running that traffic over and seeing whether or not it's converting. The other thing I'll add to that is that Amazon's not only incentivizing this with organic ranking and sort of love to your listing, but it's also now offering a brand referral bonus, meaning what they're going to do is, typically on Amazon, you're going to pay 15%, right, as a referral fee across for every sale that you make, and varies a little bit from category to category, but in general, 15%. If you're using the brand referral bonus program as a brand registered seller, Amazon's actually going to credit back to you up to 10% of that 15% referral bonus if you send external traffic through using an Amazon attribution link to your products and it converts. So essentially you get a credit back to send external buying traffic. So you get the net benefit of organic lift and good traffic, plus you can actually track sales, and you can really sort of optimize it efficiently to make it. It probably won't be as comparable to, say, sponsored ads as if you're running them and you're scaling it up and you have a really good cost number we talked about before, the cost of advertising, but you can make it to be fairly competitive with it. And honestly, it doesn't even matter. Even if you run it at a break even, the net benefit is you're getting more and more traffic coming in that's external. And so there's some love that occurs there. So that's the way you would structure it, is you would basically use Amazon attribution links, use the Google search campaigns, right, with the keywords, and then track to see what you're doing from an organic standpoint and then what sales you're converting.
Nice. I mean, it feels like really a big change to me. I mean, Amazon's always played its card very, very close to its chest, and it's been incredible. It's been such a black box. I mean, even, for example, organic impressions on Amazon, we don't get that data. We get sessions, and everyone obsesses about it because it's what they see, but you have to kind of assume that there's data behind that we're not seeing it. And yeah, this feels incredibly unusual for Amazon to be this open. And also, what I think is incredible is what if you just nailed down is that they are actually rewarding you for using attribution, which is really unusual because normally they just don't want to let anyone know. They don't want to let you know who your customers are. So that I think it's a really amazing relationship change almost to me. And yeah, that's very powerful. And as you said, any situation where you can attribute things accurately, then you don't need to kind of base, whether you should do it on, I heard it on a podcast. I heard it on a podcast. It's worth trying out. So the quality of the hypothesis needs to be there. And you're a great example of the fact that it is a quality hypothesis, and Jason's point as well, both very powerful reasons to try it out. But then you don't have to guess whether it's working now. Thank goodness. I mean, it sounds so obvious only when he's used to running Google Ads to your own site. And yet in the Amazon universe, that feels very different to me. I mean, I would say, I guess if I'm putting another hot take in here, sort of wrapping this up a bit, I mean, depending whether we can get Jason back, great contribution anyway. I would say just a bit of a reality check. So I was speaking to Ashley Pierce the other day, who, as I say, has scaled an agency to about 20 people who specialize in Google SEO, so specifically Google organic traffic, to, through, they've got a team of writers now, which is why it's expanded so fast, I guess, who create quality blog content that's SEO, optimized for SEO, and then send the traffic on mostly to Amazon listings, even though the owners of most of the businesses he's working with would have their own direct-to-consumer site. They recognize that the conversion percentages are such that if it's going to make economic sense, it probably means going to Amazon, at least initially. Now, the interesting thing is he's been talking to me about the updates. I don't know if you've seen this, but he said that Google's been playing with updates, and the organic rankings for a lot of his client site and his own sites has been pretty much of a yo-yo recently. So that is one of the things that be interested to hear if you've heard about this, but that's one of the general things I would make, is that we're always vulnerable to somebody's algorithm. So if you're getting traffic from Google SEO, you maybe get the Google slap, as they call it, friendly way. Apart from the fact there's not quick wins if you're doing organic SEO, and it takes time, but also I would say there's no such thing as free, and I think one has to be real about that. And anyone who's employing an agency, it's obvious it's not free, but the opportunity cost of doing it yourself, I think, is something that people overlook, and I think that's kind of sketchy accounting, because just because it doesn't appear on a profit and loss account doesn't mean it's not real. It's just harder to put a value on it. But I think that's the main thing I would say on that. Jason, how are you placed? Any thoughts that you'd like to chuck into the party here?
Yeah, never get low internet quality services in California. They're really bad. Or don't couch serve. I'm just kidding. My internet's so bad I can't really participate in the conversation. So you guys have crushed it, as always. This has been great, and see you soon.
Yeah, great. So a warning from the edge there. I've spoken to people from all over the globe for this podcast, and I have to say that Bali, Mexico have so far beaten California for internet quality. So it's not always about location. But yeah, joking apart, I think what you were saying, Jason, is fantastic with the .das or the Spruce kind of way of thinking. And to your point, Kyle, with your more sort of technical hat on, I think this does feel like not just another opportunity, but possibly something that could be a bit of a step change if done right.
Yeah.
What do
I
you
think
think, Kyle?
so.
Is this exaggerated or is it
No,
really
no,
that big?
I think it's definitely it needs to be a change in strategy. So think about sort of the iterations as a seller on Amazon, where there at one point where you could literally, if you could fog a mirror and put a product on Amazon, you can make money. 2014, 2013, even up to 2015. Then it started to get a little more competitive, and you were essentially paying for reviews at that point, right? You could launch a product just pretty much by paying people to go buy your product and leave reviews, and you get some traction, you get launched, you could run some ads, and you would be good to go. Over time, that shifted and changed, and then you saw this big push to sort of this rebate giveaway model, where you're giving away products and you then rebate people, and that was sort of the whole ecosystem that kind of expanded and grew, and a lot of these Amazon aggregators out there. So that was their whole like core business of how they grew brands. Well, last November, Amazon changed their TOS, literally cut off software providers, that were doing that, and said, no, you don't get any more access to any of these APIs or anything. You're done. And so that has forced this shift. Now it's like, well, how do you rank a product? Because you do have a cold start problem on Amazon when you launch a new product. Nobody knows, where your product's not even indexed. Let's be honest. When you first get launched on Amazon, so you start to get some sales and traction, you're not even going to be found in search. And then you also have the getting reviews and the social proof around it. So how then do you start to launch these products? So I would say that this particular strategy in focusing in on sending external traffic is a great way to sort of get exposure, get launched out of the gate. So you can use Google Ads at a low budget. You can leverage influencer marketing, right? Even if you work with only 4 or 5 influencers, right? If you're pointing them to a launch, you can engineer it. You just have to plan ahead, right? You have to make sure you have your influencers, you have a launch date, and you sort of collaborate with that. You can use that. I would also say the other sort of huge elephant in the room when we're talking about external traffic, and this isn't specific to Google necessarily, but you can absolutely use Google to build it, is your own email list. Like that's going to be something that like algorithm isn't going to take away from you, right? Like you're not going to be dependent upon organic SEO rankings on Google if you own an email list that actually knows, likes, and trusts you, and have buyers on it. You can point that to your website, you can point that to your Amazon launch, and these things sort of stacking together, I think, are how people are finding the most success launching products right now on Amazon as a platform.
Yeah, I love it. This is great. I mean, it's one thing to be optimistic, but it's another thing to have really concrete, sort of proven path to testing stuff, and then you can prove for yourself. And that's what's exciting to me, is that Amazon is, opening the kimono a bit in that unlovely phrase, and letting us see what's going on behind there.
I think they've had to. I think they've seen and felt pressure from Shopify. I think that's been sort of the feedback driver from this. Is you have big brands that are like, hey, we have Shopify store. We're paying Amazon for sales at 15% for a referral. Why would we want to send our own traffic to it? Obviously, if we can, work on our own conversion rate and get it up there, like that is the net benefit there. And so I think Amazon seeing that. I think Walmart's also sort of aggressively, giving back some of that referral bonus for external traffic as well. So I think they saw what was happening around them and said, hey, we got to get in this game and really sort of incentivize it. And so it's kind of just the nature of the market.
Great, which says to me this is here to stay, because the external dynamics are forcing Amazon to do it, rather it's just an experiment they're running and going to shut down in 3 months. So fantastic, that's really good to hear. My take on this, just to sort of bring this home, is it feels like Back to the Future. Back to the the future is an echo of the past. I mean, was it Mark Twain said that the history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes? I mean, Google SEO and email marketing, who would have thought it, that we're kind of talking about the original and and I was going to say original and best, but original anyway, internet marketing obsessions. Sure. And what I think is interesting is that as Amazon has matured, it's not exactly aped the development of Google, but I mean, I guess they consciously copied it in the earlier days. But I think they've kind of ended up going something of the similar sort of roots, because it comes down to trust, right? If you have a system where you can run a bunch of ads and buy traffic, then you're going to lose the trust of the consumers who kind of run the whole system. even though
Right.
the money comes from the advertisers for Amazon these days. But
Like
the
Facebook.
ultimate thing that runs it is really the consumers who buy the goods on Amazon, right? So you've got to keep that trust. And I think if I go through all the sort of history of iterations of the platforms, you said organic, then buying ads, then the rebate and giveaway model, and now getting external traffic, a lot of it comes down to trust or pulling on trusted sources. So if you've got a quality
Sure.
URL from the Spruce that is trusted by consumers, Amazon's happy to take it. So in the end, a lot of it comes down to the same thing, which is the customer obsession, and then looking at Amazon's response to its competitors. And I think those two things are for me sort of solid ground, because they're not going to change over time. If you like, I'm looking for the generalities that are going to stick over time, I suppose, rather than being one of those podcasts that says this is the latest hack and then in 3 months time it changes, because I think that's quite depressing. And I think this has got some real momentum behind it. So hopefully
Yeah.
going to stick a bit better than the search, find, buy thing, which, as we all know, is now actually banned. So I've interviewed so many people in the past who are podcast guests, and they're just, everything they're offering is now just redundant. And
Yep.
hopefully this has got some future. Well, look,
For sure.
we better wrap it up there. Any final sort of 10-second summary for everyone, Kyle, because you seem very on the case for this.
Two really important things. One, I think it really forces you to fundamentally build a solid brand, because if you're sending external traffic, you have to be thinking about your brand off of Amazon. Just sticking a label on something, right, isn't going to get it done. It's not going to make it happen. And so I think you have to be thinking about your brand as you really start to scale that up. And then two, I think it also forces you to fundamentally just become a better marketer. Like, you can't just get away with hacks. Hacks are not going to be the thing that sort of has long-term survivability and longevity in your business. You have to fundamentally just become a very solid marketer across the board. And I think those are the two sort of fundamental shifts that this is causing, and where they've sort of gotten rid of all that stuff.
Yeah, and once again, I would say it's like Back to the Future for me in the set. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but more of the same, because there's been such a movement since I've come into the Amazon sort of world in 2014, again, of those two lines. I mean, getting a real brand and being a better marketer has been a pressure upon us to the benefit of the consumers, to do both those things. And I don't think that's really changed in a way. So I guess it comes down to a lot of the things, which is, developing the skills and developing the quality of what you're offering over time, as Jason puts it, the sort of craft skills of the e-commerce leader. So, folks, if you've enjoyed today's show, just a final couple of things to say. First of all, thank you so much for watching or listening, wherever you are. Do join us in the Call-In app, which is a cool new app. Unfortunately, I believe only for iPhone at the time of recording, where we are every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, or 4 p.m. UK time, if that's where you're listening. Of course, do join us on one of our podcast platforms as well. Spotify seems to be really growing every month relentlessly. We're getting more and more followers there, which is great. We just passed a bit of a milestone in listeners and downloads as well, which is fantastic. So somebody's out there listening. And of course, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it as well. So if you can find us on Spotify or Apple, do leave us a rating out of 5 stars as well. If you could get on Apple or on Spotify. And on Apple, you can even leave a little written review. So if you can do that, we'd be very grateful. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening or watching wherever you may be in the world. And Jason, if you're listening in California, good luck getting that internet sorted. Thanks very much, folks. That's it.
Bye, guys.